by having the proper, I'm going to keep saying it, proper expectation setting going in, understanding what you're getting into, how you can earn a dollar in this industry, how you can be good at what you do, that it might take some time. That's when you start to become the person that can enjoy the journey instead of only looking at the destination. Welcome to episode 23 of Everything Entrepreneurship, the podcast with Kyle Jerome Carter, the place for ambitious employees, working professionals, those climbing up the corporate ladder, and my working entrepreneurs as well. In today's episode, I'm going over what I consider the number one mistake people make as they go from employee to side hustle or full-blown business. And no episode or video will be right if I don't take a moment to say thank you to every single person that's been supporting this. I'm so appreciative to every single person that hits that subscribe button, that leaves a comment, that interacts with me, and that shares it too. The podcast is growing, and it's not because of me, it's because of you. So as you keep on showing up and sharing this to your friends and family, I'm going to do my part to make sure I give you the best information I can. So with that being said, let's dive right into it. So let me start here. 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, it was normal. It was the standard that if you needed more money, that you'd have to go get a second or third job. As social media and the online boom has made us more connected and that we're able to see other people being successful online, things have changed. Now you take that with the fact that the world, our life has been more convenient now than ever. And you have to remember the word convenience often makes people lazy. You take those two things, you put them together, and what do you get? You get the fact that people they need more money, but they don't have the same drive to go after it. And you might be saying, what do you mean, KJC? Well, what I mean is this. There are still people that will take a second or third job to survive. However, that's not the first, second, or third option that people are going to want to sign up for. That's not the priority. The desire and the need for more money is there, and sometimes it's there more than ever. However, people don't want to, after working 40, 50 hours, go to a second job. Now, some people can say it's generational, it's just the mindset, people have it easier now, whatever you want to say, that doesn't really matter. What does matter is right here, right now, the working class often needs a second or third form of income. There are articles and statistics and reports that say people that make six figures are still living paycheck to paycheck. Obviously not everybody, but there's still a portion. So if that's being said about people that are making six figures, what does that say about the person that's making the average income between like $40,000 and $60,000, right? And when we take that into account and we figure out what is it that people need to do to have that second or third form of income, most people are going to look to saving or investing. But more often than not, especially right now, people look to entrepreneurship. And as I've been able to talk about this topic on a daily basis now, rather than like once or twice a week, I'm finding that these blurred lines between employees, person that does a side hustle, and full-blown business owner, whereas they were more blurred before, now they're starting to become more clear. And as you have clarity, you can have direction. So what are you getting at, KJC? This is what I'm getting at. If people need more money, and the number one option people are going to try and do right now is to start a side hustle or business, how come so many people fail? And what do I count as fail? When I say fail, I mean they either start something without finishing, it doesn't get off the ground, they might make money once, but it isn't set up to be a complete system that cash flows income, right? Now, if that's the case, what do we do? How do we stop that? How do we fix that? What do people do? What do they need to know as they go into entrepreneurship? Well, first things first, that's the whole reason why I started this podcast, to transition people from employee to entrepreneur as efficiently as possible. Because as I say, 9 times out of 10, you need the right mindset and you need to actually follow through and do the work, then you got this, right? Oftentimes, people that do the work, even if they're going in the wrong direction, they've done so much work, it gets attention, or they have information that the moment they make that pivot, that they become profitable in that side hustler business. But as the title of this, or as the main topic of this episode says, what's the number one mistake that people make? What I found is they don't respect what they're signing up for, right? And this isn't necessarily contentious, but it definitely requires more time in a conversation when I speak to somebody, especially somebody that um, has a unique situation, which I find isn't necessarily as unique as people think. Many people are struggling. It's not about if they smile on the outside, they could have problems at home. They could have health problems. They could have a hostile work environment. Everybody has different issues that aren't made public to everyone else. And when you stack that on top of all the external forces, so you have your internal forces going crazy sometimes, and you have your external forces also seemingly going crazy. How is somebody supposed to take that after working 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours a week and push themselves to actually do the level of quality of work to follow through to build that side hustler business? It's hard. But just because it's hard doesn't mean that it's not worth it. And because it's hard, there aren't as many people that attempt it that succeed, right? So when I say they don't respect the side hustler business is the number one mistake, if I dive deeper into that, as well as offer a solution, I could just leave it there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer a solution. What I found that actually works is the same thing for a client: proper expectation setting. Now, you have to do that for yourself. If a person is signing up to do a side hustle, and again, that might not take all the commitment in the world, it might not take more than like 4, 5, 6 hours a week. And then on the other hand, you have the person that's signing up for starting a business, excuse me, that might take after work 2, 3 times a week and then on the weekends, whatever it might be. Having a proper expectation when you go in allows you to have not only the clarity, but the respect for what you're entering. Nobody's gonna, the same way that you get hit with ads all day, every day, and it's not often that for every single ad that you see that you purchase something. You have to earn $1, and earning $1 is not easy, especially when right now we're at an all-time low of trust amongst people, which is crazy. So when we take something like Instagram, for example, as soon as you get on 1, 2, 3, every single fourth post that you see is an ad. So if you're constantly getting reinforced with ads, some might be active, some might be passive, as in some might say, hey, buy now, this is for you, you're my audience, and others might just be for exposure, constantly showing up, retargeting you. Regardless, consciously or subconsciously, you're denying these buying decisions. So if you're doing this constantly on a daily basis, and we're not even talking about on your way to work, all the different billboards you see on the radio, just word of mouth from friends and family, you're constantly hit with these stimulus to take your hard-earned money and pay for something else in the form of a product or service. So if you're constantly bombarded and you're filtering out like 90, 95% of those different calls to action for you to purchase something, then you can't expect for when you do it in the form of a side hustler business that it's going to be easy. So the first way to respect your side hustler business is to understand that earning $1 means much more than making $1. Making money off somebody is completely different than earning $1 off somebody. And that's why, to an extent, I always preface with not necessarily worst case scenario, but I say you want to care about what you want to care about what you're doing, but you also want to be good at what you're doing, because things become easier. You sleep better at night when you are a good person that delivers what you say that you're going to do, and it's quality, and you have the best intention for somebody else in mind, right? So I'm going to break this down into 2 scenarios. You have person number 1 who's at their job, they've been there, they're living paycheck to paycheck, and they just need a side hustle. They don't need to start an LLC. They just need some gig work that they can do. They can just plug themselves into, follow these steps, and make some money, right? Again, that's the wrong thing. You need to earn some money. Just because you don't necessarily need an LLC, And then you can go on this website or this app, you can sign up and then follow through with a repeated task. Doesn't make it any easier. If you were to say, my job right now is barely covering my bills, and it's taking me 40 hours a week, let's just say 40 hours a week to do that. I'm expecting to pay 2, 3, 4, maybe half my bills from 2 hours of effort. I don't like saying the word realistic often, because realistically, you can do much more than you honestly believe. So I'm very picky when I use the word realistic. But in this instance, you have to get realistic with the amount of time you need to put into something. And then the most common pushback I get is, that might be cool, KJC, but I saw this person, they started and they just made some money. Well, that's cool for them. That's not you right now. Some people, there's a small percentage of people that will find success, and by success I mean financial, transactional, within the first, second, and third attempt. That's not most people. So in the event that you're not most people, does that mean that because it didn't work for you, it's broken and that you shouldn't try? No. What that means is, if you have the proper expectation going in, if you have respect for what you're doing, you understand, okay, all I'm doing is going on the site, putting in my information, and I'm following these tasks. Do that to the best of your ability. Because if you're somebody that's trying to pay 2 bills, let's say, you know what, my rent's $1,500 and I need to cover that with my side hustle. Let's say that's your situation, right? $1,500 is a lot of money if it takes you 20, 30, 40 hours to make that. Sometimes it takes people 50 hours of working to make that. So that doesn't mean that I'm not saying that you need to invest 30, 40, 50 hours into the side hustle that's supposed to be simple. What I'm saying is, with the proper expectation that it might not pan out the way that you thought, but still understanding that you're signing up for a season, even if that season is a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, oftentimes multiple months, then you can go into it saying, I'm not worried about just money coming back. I'm more concerned about the journey, right? I'm trying to put together this master video. Everybody always says, oh, all the things I wish I knew, all the lessons that hit me too late, something like that. And it doesn't matter if it's something small like a side hustle or something big like a business. If you're trying to make enough money to cover your gas every other week, or if you're trying to replace your full income, you have to root the goal. The end goal is what it is. That's the destination. But you can't be concerned about the destination the whole time. It's about the journey. Oftentimes, some of the happiest, I'm not talking happy as in positive, good things happen. I'm talking about happy as in abundance. Some of the happiest employees turned entrepreneurs that I know and talk to are the ones that enjoyed and leaned into the journey. That journey for some to get that first, second, third attempt that ends up a system that makes the money might take a turnaround time of like 3, 4 weeks, maybe 1, 2 weeks, maybe first, second attempt. But for others, if your season is going to be 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 months for something that you thought was easy, something that you thought was quick money, by understanding that I'm signing up and I'm growing and learning across this journey, then you're able to show up every day, put your best foot forward, stay in the game longer, and often get better results, not just for you, but for the person that you're servicing via a product or service, right? And some people just don't think about it like that. They only think about the end goal. This is what I want from it. And because I did this and it didn't work, I'm a failure. Just because you fail doesn't mean you're a failure. Some of these failures are just lessons. Oh my goodness. When it comes to like, everybody's seen these stories online where I think the owner of Starbucks got denied 300 times before they got a yes, or the owner of this company that you know went through 200 banks before they got a yes. And as cliche as it is, I remember as we were making like for my company, when we were making a transition from dealerships, doing marketing from dealerships to just overall marketing for like companies, I have an actual story of going through over 200 small business owners and getting no's. And then it took until maybe a couple months ago when I was putting together my thoughts of my journey so that I can better convey that to my audience, you guys. Then I'm like, golly, 200 no's? You got to be a little crazy in the head, or you got to really be focused to keep persevering past 200 no's, because that's not common. Most people would give up after the first, the second, the fifth no, right? It wasn't easy, but by doing that, I was able to get the first yes. And then after that first yes, it didn't take 200, it didn't take 100, it didn't take 20, it didn't even take 10 for me to get the second one. And then from that, it didn't take 5, it didn't take 3, it didn't take 2, the next one. That doesn't mean that every single time is optimized and every single time that we needed a client, we were just going to keep on getting yeses. But what it means is I was able to understand it's about the journey, not just the destination. One thing about KJC, one thing about me, people often say, especially the people that don't know me that well, and if they get behind the scenes of any part of the journey that my company has had to go through, they're like, dang, KJC, you're a patient guy. And I always laugh to myself inside because I'm like, I am not patient by any means. You would think if I said, oh, after 200 people, 200 business owners said no, that was not my mindset. Yes, I was worried about the journey, but it's because I understood that our foundation was so solid that we can get the best results, that we have everything in place, that the moment we get a yes, it's up. It's not, okay, we get a yes, and then now we got to scramble to do this. We got to get this together. I just understood we're ready. And the moment somebody says yes, it's off. And it's because of that, I was able to keep on going. It's not because I kept getting a no and I'm like, oh, this okay. No, I was sad. I made the process much worse for myself, though I worried about the journey more so than the destination. Doesn't mean it was the whole time. There were times I had to kick my own butt. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Get your mind right. Like, you've built something already. Just because it's a no right now, that doesn't mean that it's a no later, right? And what I chalked it up to, because everything is perspective, I chalked that up to, those 200 business owners that all said no were all research and development. And technically, some of them said yes, but as we went through the full process and had an understanding of what they needed, it just wasn't a good fit. Sometimes we said no, sometimes they said no, which is an even bigger testament to worrying about the journey, not the destination. I say all that to say, by having an understanding that even if it's a side hustle, even if it's something that's supposed to be quick money, understand you're doing this to serve somebody else, to earn money. It can take time, and you won't fall into that mistake. That was example number one. For somebody that's starting, an employee that's starting a side hustle, right? Now, the person that's starting a business, I'm talking LLC, they have a full product line, service, whatever it is, even more so than the person that's starting off the side hustle. Now, this next part, I can't say as eloquently as my friend Breon. When he first said it, it blew my mind. I was like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. I'm going to take that. So shout out to you, Breon. Well, basically, he said, some people, when they start a business and they put their money aside, they save up money, or they understand that they have a certain amount of credit they can tap into. They take into account the amount of money it's going to take for them to get it off the ground, but they don't take into account the amount of money it's going to take for them to fail until it works, right? And again, I'm not saying it as cool as him. I got to figure out the word for word, but it's so true. Oftentimes, if you're starting a business, like a full-blown LLC, product, service, whatever it might be, more so than a side hustle, you're putting out much more financial risk. You could be putting out thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars to get something off the ground. And most people have maybe not necessarily a nest egg, but they have a chunk of money. Let's just say somebody has like $12,000 and they're comfortable spending about like $6,000-7,000 of that on the business to get it off the ground. What happens if that's actually going to take $15,000? I'm not saying that's in all cases. I'm just saying in this instance, and we're only looking under the lens of the financial, right? If somebody is in a very ad focused business and they know they need to run ads, or if you haven't done it before, it's going to take some ad spend for you to get into the groove, have an understand your numbers and all that. Or if you don't want that headache and you hire somebody else, like an actual ad agency to run your ads, you have to take into account the money that you have to spend and the money that you have to pay. And this reigns true even more. I'm not going to necessarily say I'm against it. There's no way I can be against it. But people that push so much funding on people that know nothing about business or people that are just starting, right? You might have heard online somebody say, hey, all you need is to start an LLC, go to these banks, submit this, and they'll give you a line of credit, a grant, a loan for $100,000. So simple. And through my consultations, I found that is not the right way to set people up for success. More often than not, when people get that big chunk of money, especially if it's a loan, they blow through it without a plan or without a system in place to pay it back. And you have to take into consideration when you start the goods and the bads. Take into consideration when you start, this is the money it's going to take to get it off the ground, but how much more money on top of that do I need aside for if it takes much longer than I intended? A term that I find myself using with people that are in these situations, they got a business loan or they qualified for this line of credit, whatever it might be. Oftentimes, oftentimes they find me when they're already like neck deep, and the name of the game is to stop the bleeding. They're looking out, and money is just blowing. They're just blowing money. They're just burning money, like almost literally. It's so sad. Next, like I've had conversations. I've had conversations where this one lady was like, "Hey, we just opened up this brick and mortar, and we needed chairs and tables. So I ordered them from California, and they were like $8,000." I'm like, "Why would you do that?" Like, "Oh, because I just like this table. I like this chair design." Meanwhile, we could have went somewhere in Jersey or Philly and gotten that for much cheaper. Found out some of them were the wrong ones, but the place wasn't going to send her the label to ship it back because they weighed so much. So she was either stuck with them or had to come out of pocket a couple more $1,000s to send it back. And it was a whole debacle. Let me take it away from that because I want to be more broad, because it's not always about financial. You have to have space, have intention when you're going after a full-blown business for it to work, but also until it works. Just like I said in the previous episodes, and I'm going to keep on saying it, you don't know the gestation period of your business. It might take off overnight, but it might not. And what I see is people have their goal, but they put a timeline on that goal, not for them to make it, but for them to feel good about it. And if they don't feel good a certain amount of time in, they shift their perspective and they go to this. We call that shiny object syndrome. This person has already got an LLC, got a business name, got a logo, tried a little bit, it wasn't working the way they wanted. They switched gears and now they're doing this. Or maybe they didn't get the LLC, they have an Instagram page, they did a little bit of research, they put out some money, they're starting this, didn't work out, switch gears. And that's not right. By having the proper, I'm going to keep saying it, proper expectation setting going in, understanding what you're getting into, how you can earn a dollar in this industry, how you can be good at what you do, that it might take some time, that's when you start to become the person that can enjoy the journey instead of only looking at the destination. Almost every single thing that I do, especially in the consultations or masterclasses and webinars, is have proper expectation setting so you can build momentum. There's so many days that you're just not going to feel good. Life's going to be lifing. Things are going to hit. You're not going to have the energy. You're not going to have the money. You're not going to be in the right mindset. You're going to get a bad text. You're going to be in these situations that you're not going to want to do the work. But what we're doing here, we're setting ourselves up for success by building momentum before that happens so that the work still gets done. You have to take that into account as you move forward. You have to take that into account as you start. Setting yourself up for success is crucial. Tell me how successful a movie would be. Let's say Denzel Washington is coming out with a movie. They put maybe $200 million into the budget. Would it be better for them to prepare and prime their audience months before or a few weeks before? If they have more time for the rollout, if they have more time to saturate the market, if they have more time to allow him and allow the studio and allow their marketing to work on the people, tell a story, different angles behind the scenes, they can control the narrative and bolster as many people into the theater, getting pre-sales, getting people in the seats with months ahead, with proper planning, proper expectation setting. They have a better forecast of if they're going to make their money back, and if so, how much. Opposed to, they'd be shooting themselves in the foot. They wouldn't be doing any of the people that invest in that movie or the actors that put time into it. They would be acting in bad faith if they said, all right, cool, we put $200 million to this movie. We've been shooting this movie for almost a whole year. It took almost 3-4 months just for it to get edited. And it comes out next Friday. At that point, you'd look at them like you have to be crazy to think that you're going to not only make this money back, but to do more than that. Sometimes in music, big names can do that, like a Beyonce surprise album, but that's not how it goes in business. And that's not how it should go for you. So to make sure that you don't fall into that trap of the number one mistake that people make, you have to have a solid understanding of what you're getting into, what it's going to take to earn $1, not just make $1, and have an understanding that it might take much longer time than intended, even if it's advertised as something easy. And if that's the case, especially if it's a business and you have to put money out, you might have to put more money out than usual. If you're anybody that's been in like reconstruction or like home remodeling, whatever it might be, how many times does something come in right at or under budget? Almost every single time things come in way over budget. It's just the name of the game. And if you take that consideration, if you take that thinking, if you take that train of thought into your entrepreneurial journey, it'll make it so much easier because you're focused on the journey and not the destination. Far too often you find people that once they get money, most people think they're insensitive. They say, I got this money. I wish I didn't have the money because it was easier back then. And most people are like, what are you talking about? Give it to me. Just give it away. Then you can find out real quick how much easier you have it, right? And it's because oftentimes some of those people, not the ones that were just handed to, but the ones that worked for it, are like, I was so obsessed over the end goal that I didn't get to enjoy the time. I didn't get to enjoy the relationship. I didn't get to build bonds. Like I got it, but at what cost? And I don't want that for you. So that's just a quick episode on the number one mistake that employees make or the people make as they get into a side hustle or business. I don't want that for you, so I hope you take that to heart. With that being said, I'm over here. I thought, you know what? It's just a simple topic. I'm gonna keep this to maybe a 20-minute video. And here we are over whatever. It is what it is. I'm conveying this. I'm really enjoying this. And I want the best for you. So I hope you take that to heart. I hope you implement it because you can actually do it. And that's realistic thinking. But with that being said, let's transition to who knows favorite part of the show, where we go from what you gotta do on the entrepreneur side to what KJC has been up to, right? What I've been up to, moment of transparency, this is really fun. Outside of just marketing client work, building this brand, connecting with this audience, you guys, especially if you're still here. If you're one of the people, granted, I get long retention, right? So if I have a 30-minute video, I'm blessed to say that retention shows that people are staying almost 20 minutes sometimes. And that's really huge. And that's a testament, not to me, but to you because you care. So if you're still watching this, shout out to you. I really appreciate you. And you are who I'm doing this for. I say all that to say this has been fun. And I'm finding a slow moment. Whereas a lot of this is trial and error. I'm still getting to my groove. I'm still finding my flow, because my vision is grand. If I lay out everything that I want from and for this, you guys be like, golly, KJC, you on it. We sign up for this mission, right? I'm building out the best assets that can help people that are working that need that second form of income and that need to do it efficiently. And as I do that, if you've been watching this, you'll see that I've had a challenge, currently have the masterclass. I talk about my consultations, stuff like that. But as I get an understanding of you guys, I want you to understand me as well. And everything I do needs to be in good faith. So rather than just pushing out what I'm doing this time or that time, what makes the most sense is the same way that I conduct my business. If you know me personally, you know I'm not a salesman. I'm a marketer. I can make a beautiful product, I can convey the message, and I'll put it out there. I'm not the person that's going to convince somebody. I've had people say, even if it sounds cliche nowadays, why should I go with you or them? Don't go with me, go with them. Because I'm not about to be the one to try and convince you. What I am going to do is put my time and effort into the piece of content, into the asset that you receive, right? I say that to say, I'm building out the proper customer or client journey that allows somebody to get the information they need and to choose if they want to do it faster or not. What you're going to get from me is never the answer is 5 steps and I'm going to give you a step 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm going to sell you 5 because I got you. No, I'm going to give you all 5 steps and I'm going to make it very clear that you can do this with or without me. But if you want it faster, if you want a better quality, if you want what people struggle with, being held accountable, then I'm your guy. This platform is for you. Like everything that I make, I'm trying to make as thorough as possible, not leaving out a little bit here. I'll give the farm away. It is what it is. When you're overflowing with this, and when this isn't your main thing that you're going, I'm doing this for you, and I know the value that I bring. The value that I bring is speed, accuracy, clarity, guidance, accountability. So as I do that, I've put together, or I'm in the middle of putting together, 2 assessments. One for the person that is an aspiring entrepreneur and doesn't know exactly what they want. This is going to let them know exactly the direction they could or should be going based on the answers they give about their life, their situation, their work, and all that, right? And then from that, it'll give you, hey, these are 3 to 5 of the best directions that you could go based off your answers. And I want that to be as value driven and in line with what they actually need. So if a person is this type of person and lives this type of life and works this type of job and has this type of availability, I'm trying to take as much context as possible without being there to say, these are the best business models for you. Because again, I'm not going to tell you, do this or do that. That's not me. I'm going to show you how to follow through, build momentum, have the right mindset to do the work so you can scale and make the money. I'm not going to say, this is what I do. I started a marketing agency. You need to start a marketing agency. I'm never going to say that. That's going to be the one assessment. That one's still coming soon. In order to make it in order to make sure it's as valuable as possible, I need a couple more things I'm working on to solidify to make sure that it follows through. The other assessment is basically identifying where along your entrepreneurial journey you are and equipping you with assets that you need in this phase to take it to the next level. Sometimes it's going to be just a free PDF. Sometimes it's going to be a video that I make that shows up on the results screen. It might be an invitation to the masterclass. And that's how I'm approaching this journey. Because in my company, we do what's called consultative selling, right? There's no way in good faith that I can have a conversation with somebody and say, we're going to start these marketing services for you. Or we just got this package. No, we're not the package people. You want the $5,000 package, the $8,000 package, or the $12,000 package? What do you want? Like, no, everything is a la carte. Everything is custom. It's bespoke private marketing. You feel me? And that's the level of quality and value that I'm bringing here. So instead of just saying, hey, this is what I think is best for you, without knowing you, although the masterclass Now, the webinar is literally the employee to entrepreneur, breaking it down. And technically that should be a full like 3-4 day challenge. Like this is so much value in it. But again, that's beyond the point. What I'm getting at is I'm allowing the assets to give value wherever somebody is, and giving them the option, if they want to take it to the next level with speed, quality, clarity, direction, accountability, then they can choose one of the personal products or services I'm offering. And I'm just building that out, and it's fun, you know. As I put into words, as I record these videos, as I do more research, it feels good knowing that I'm earning $1, just like I told you, because I'm doing it to help people. So yeah, that's fun. That's what I've been up to. Obviously, we got other stuff going on. Feel like this week is flying, and I do have a plan. I do have a vision to take this podcast to the next level, especially quality-wise, as far as like visually. So stay tuned for that. We are at the end of the episode. No questions this week. If you have any questions you want me to answer, go to my Instagram at kyle.jerome.carter. Send me a DM, and I might answer a couple questions next week or the week after. But if you made it this far, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, and you really can do this. It's people like you that are why I'm doing this, and that I'm proud to have with me as we grow this to the next level. So with that being said, I'm going to end it here. This is Everything Entrepreneurship with Kyle Jerome Carter, or KJC, full name or initials. It doesn't matter so long as you use one of the two. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Until the next time, talk to you later.